Welcome to Bigger Power. We're going to do a wheel bearing change on a Peugeot 807, which is the same as the Citroen Synergy and the Fiat something or other. I'll put it in the description and the title. Same car, 3 different model names. Easy wheel bearing change. Save yourself some money, do what I do. First thing, I'm just going to show you all the tools you're going to need to do this job, and then we're going to dig in. For this job, other than kind of the obvious things, you might want a little bit of copper slip and some freon oil. You'll definitely want a 19mm socket, an 18mm socket, a 17mm socket, and a 16mm socket. Guess what? You'll also need a 12mm socket. Useful is a 15mm spanner and an 18mm spanner. And then the big boy, which is 35 or 36, but I keep a 36 and it always works on those front hubs just fine. A copper mallet, hammer of some sort is very useful. The biggest lever bar that you have known to man, it's quite short really compared to my bigger one, but you might have something like that. You're definitely going to need it. The torque wrench is obviously quite useful, plus a jack and axle stands to raise the vehicle and hold it safely. Plus you're going to need a new wheel bearing, and a press or access to a hydraulic press with at least 20 tons of pressure to be able to release the brake, what are we doing? Bearing, and press the new one back in suitably. It's more the release that's the problem. A lighter is also quite useful and a mat to kneel on. Right, let's get into doing the job. Okay, you've seen all the tools you need for this job, and now we're going to show you how to remove the hub. First, you noticed I've raised the vehicle, the jack is there for safety, it's actually on an axle stand, and we've got the wheel off. I'm hoping that you've been able to do that yourself. If you can't do that bit, maybe it's best not doing the rest of this job. Get a pro in. Okay, to get to the wheel bearing, which is in the hub, spindle, Americans call it. The spindle or hub is behind here. It's attached to this arm, the lower arm, this upright here. The brakes are all bolted to it. So you basically have to just remove all these items to get to it and then remove it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this caliper, remove this caliper, hang it up here, and then I can get access to the ball joint, which I'll show you in a moment. I can loosen that and drop it down while I've got this disc for a little bit of leverage, and then we start taking off this joint, the disc, the pipework here, these bolts, and the hub will come straight off. Before we get too excited, excuse any flickering that might be on here since there's the LED lighting and the frequency rate, is the central hub nut here is often very tight. Now if you haven't got a cheat gun like me, it's at this stage you want to undo it, maybe even with the wheel still attached to this vehicle on the ground, and you put a socket with extension and do it that way, and then you've got the whole weight of the vehicle to help you. You could also put a pin in against the vents inside the disc, against the caliper, and undo it that way. Or you get someone inside with a foot on the brake to help hold the disc or the hub in place while you undo this very tight nut. Now, if you haven't got a cheat gun, you're going to need a very long bar, an extension bar, breaker bar, as some might call it, to undo it. First, we're going to remove this split pin, like that. Put that to one side and a nice tray. This should just fall off, but it's under there a bit tight. There we go. And then we have the hub nut, or some people call it a castle nut because of the cutouts inside it. And there we go. Yeah, as expected, I believe it's a 35 or a 36. I use a 36 for all 35s and 36s. And we can just, yep, as we can see, it is very tight. So just to stop the rotation, it's not a full battery, but it's pretty close. That has been over tightened without a shadow of a doubt. Wowee. Definitely that was tighter than it should have been. This Milwaukee has 3 bars of battery, and that had to work very hard. Okay, we'll put the torque spec at the end for you to line that up. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to put the castle nut just back on, protect the threads on the end of the shaft. And using a copper hammer, ideally, if it's a steel one, put something like a piece of wood there, just to make sure the shaft's moving in the hub, which, although it's back to its position, it's bouncing. That means it's sliding in and out really nicely. That's good. Next thing I'm going to do is take this caliper off. I'm just going to rotate it so I can get easy access to the back of the caliper. And I can see there's two large bolts, which look like 19s to me. These will be significantly tight. Although not nearly as tight as that hub nut. In fact, those should be tighter than what they are, and the hub nut should not have had to be that tight. We're then going to whip off the brake line from up here. And we have a little S-hook once we've got these bolts out. We don't want the caliper just hanging on the floor. It looks like someone snipped the brake cables before, unfortunately, which is just to tell the little computer inside when your brake pads are low. And there we go. It's hung up there, out of the way. Cables are out of the way. Now I've got easy access. You can see the ball joint at the bottom there. Down here, this is the ball joint with a nice split boot. We're going to fix that as a side point. And I need to undo the nut the other side and hold this side with a spanner. So this is where I've left the disc on, so I can rotate the hub to serve my purposes. I bet you it's going to be a 16. I don't know why I picked up a 15. Yep, there we go, there's the 16. Now if it's really crusty, give it a wire wheel and spray in there with some WD-40 or similar. You notice it starts spinning that side, so we need to get a spanner on that. Could be a 17, sometimes a 15. Today it's a 15. Okay. Again, I like to put the nut back on the other end of that bolt. Then get my copper hammer, give it a tap, and you'll see it just move through nicely. Then we take the nut off, put that to one side, use a little punch, and very gently, it should just tap through. Just like that. Okay, let's now see if we can release this ball joint. There's a couple of things you can do. You can try and put a wedge in the back of that, open up the two pieces of metal that pinch on the ball joint, which we will give it a little go, just to help things along a little bit. So we've got a metal chisel or a screwdriver, but it has to be a strong old strike through screwdriver. Excuse my phone interrupting everything. Okay, might have just opened it up a little bit. And then you want to get a very long bar, the longest that you own. Scaffold bars are good, but you often can't get them in places. Like I'm struggling to get this bar in here, unfortunately. I really am struggling to get this bar in. And that's my best ball breaker bar. That's a bit annoying. There are other bars you could use. And if you were replacing the boot like I am, you could use a ball joint splitter, but just know that when you do use them, unless you're very fortunate and you've lubricated it, blah blah blah, you'll probably split the boot and damage that. And then on this model of vehicle, you can't actually take the ball joint out of the arm. The arm is part of the ball joint for some stupid reason. Now, unfortunately, as I said, we can't get my favourite bar in there, and that doesn't afford as much leverage, this bar, but we'll give it a go. In fact, it affords us no leverage. So I can move the camera so I can actually do the job. And we can use the end of the bar instead. Lever up on the hub and down on the arm. Oh, she's tight. You can also, we can in this instance, which is nice. Let's be careful with this, but on the CV joint underneath, not touching the boot, I can get to the top of the ball joint spindle and push it down. You see that? Which is quite favourable. In my eyes, I like that. So just keep that moving. And let's push it down a little bit, and then you can't always do this, and you do have to be careful. You don't want to put a massive amount of weight on this. You could damage your CV joint. Get that freed up. We might be able to get our big bar in there now. Get the beast in. What we don't want to do is rub on that ball joint, that rubber of the CV boot and damage it. Mine is leaking a little bit on the edge there. That's the clip that's not tight enough. Right, now we can get that in. And get more weight on it. Useful to have two people at this point, but if you haven't, weight on the end of the bar, push in on the hub. Or whack it. And there it goes. See that? So we want to push the hub just a bit out of the way. There we go. Take care here with these. You don't want to be damaging that boot. I know it is damaged anyway, but you don't want to damage the boot, and you don't want to damage the boot here either. So just be careful as you're sliding stuff in and out. There's no sharp edges on your lever arms. Just cautiously out of the way. Okay, so now on this side we have some would break this off first. I just like to have the leverage on this point here to take the ball joint off. That's just my preference. Okay, so clean up on aisle 4, a little bit of oil. Then what might happen is it might spin. So you've got your, of course it's not a 16, is it? It'll be a 17, because we like to use all of the sizes on the French hub. So if it starts spinning, stop, because you'll only wear the joint out. You might get fortunate and it does that. Now as you notice, it's still tight in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this area, not this, not this. We're going to hit this area with a metal hammer, big lump hammer. And the idea of that is it shocks it up. And you could be tempted to hit that. You could damage the threads, you could damage the nut. And we're leaving the nut on, so if you slip, like I have done in the past, you don't damage the threads. You might find that's done it. There you go. Take the nut off. Again, this is just a bit of practice that I do. I put the nut back on. 1, I don't lose it, and 2, don't damage the ends of those threads, because you might be in a world of pain then. Okay, disc comes off next, and that is just this little 13 maybe? Maybe not, maybe 12. I'm using all the big sockets. All big sockets in the pen, 12. Put that aside, it's been nicely greased. Put the disc aside, somewhere safe, not where I put it. Okay, 5 steps closer. Right, can we move that to get out of the way? So this is the hub in which the wheel bearing is pushed in onto. And the only 2 bolts really that are holding us back are here and here. Let me show you. Can we see them? There's the 2 nuts. There's the 2 bolt heads. They hold the rest of that on. But the keen eye of many of you right now, I hope, has noticed, especially on your vehicle, if not on mine, is this. Now this is the ABS sensor. So you've got 2 options. One option is to try and remove it from the hub. Now, we could try that, and we could damage the sensor quite badly. I generally try to prefer to unclip them from a clip, which will be, if we follow the wire, right there. Now sometimes they're a pig to find, and they're buried, so I try and take them off the hub. But in this case, it's not so bad. So, start unclipping, and you'll follow the wire up through some of the clips that hold it all together and support it, and eventually you find this little plug. Let's show you. Can you see that in the darkness? There's this little white plug, and you lift back the plug that goes into it, so you just lift that up and pull it away, and you're left with the clip. Now don't just pull it off because you'll break the clip. There's another clip on the back of that. We probably want a little screwdriver for. And you lift it away. It is a bit fiddly, and it's kind of, I can't even see it. There's kind of no way to show you really. There we go. So it slides onto a clip up there, and you lift that clip up, slide it forwards, a bit opposite the direction you'd think, and it comes off, and then you can pull it all throughout the way, and there we go. Just be careful of that and don't smash it and damage it and rip it and cut it, because that's important. That's your ABS sensor. We don't want to be damaging that and then getting ABS codes later, do we? Let's be honest. Okay, we're going to clean those up because they are filthy. Eyes. Taking care not to damage the CV boot. Squirty squirty. No harm a bit in there. Just don't get it over your brakes if they're anywhere nearby. Right, who's going to take a punt at what size this one is? What do we reckon? While we're at it, should we just remove this heat shield? You're going to have to want to remove it anyway. What's the bet and that's going to come off, eh? What's the bet? You see that heat shield? That protects the heat from the brakes. Cooking stuff behind. Yeah, so let's do that. That's a 10mm. That's the chances that will shear off. It's quite high, but it could get in your way, and it's going to get in the way of us today. Oh my goodness, it didn't shear off. Don't panic if that shears off. I'd half expect it to. But it looks like they've smartly fitted this heat shield, so you have to wrangle it off with some difficulty. Still intact though. Yeah, it protects all the rubbish basically from the heat and allows the heat to leave the wheel well rather than cook everything behind. So I'm being blinded by my light. I'm not sure if my light's helping you guys, but as you can now see, we started with all those things connected. Now we've got a loose drive shaft inside the hub. We've got the ABS sensor removed, the track rod end removed, track control, the arm, the ball joint at the bottom out the way. We've got the caliper out the way, disc off. Now we've got these 2 bolts to undo. What size are they? Who knows? They may flip as they go along. I think they like to use all of the numbers. Let's go with a 19, shall we? Oh, you know, it could be an 18. We better check that. say like to just shove in a random, yeah, let's just shove in an 18, because, you know, why not? So take the nut side off first. And she is spinning. It's a kind of a good sign, but it means it will come out easier. Yep, so we're going to get a spanner on the other side. And that spanner is, of course, an 18. Bizarre. Bizarre. Make sure. Smoking. Put them together, notice the little washer, don't use that. And notice these have a nice little punch end. Still use a copper hammer if you have one. There you go. And then I like to put those bits, the hardware, together, so then you don't forget where they go. So like the ball joint bolt, put that together with that. That thread looks annihilated, we'll give that a file later. Okay, and one more bolt. And this hub is going to fall off. Lovely. Again, keep the washer. Use an inappropriate tool to knock that through. The hub might just stay in place unless you've just removed it and greased everything. Hardware together. And come on, baby. Give it a wiggle. Give it a pull. You might need to give it a little tap, but it should just wiggle out. And there you have your hub. Okay. Wonderful. So here we have that wonderful hub you've just removed. So the bearing is in here. So again, eagle-eyed, notice that this delightful ABS sensor is actually going to prevent us from replacing this bearing. This hub gets pushed in that way, we take the clip out, and then we push the bearing out in that direction and push the new one in there. Well, that's going to break the ABS sensor, isn't it? So that's delightful. So, stupid design. Thank you very much again. Not much your braking fluid and freeing oils are going to do here, but you're going to have to just hope that you don't damage your ABS sensor in the process. So, I say so a lot, don't I? Allen key, or internal hex, or whatever people like to call it. Now feel it, so you don't just round it off, wreck it, damage it, break it. Otherwise you're in a pain of world. Okay, so she's seated all the way in, and then do this by hand. Oh, wow, we got a bit fortunate there, people. There we go, often gets thread locked in. And that is tight on there. Alright, we'll put that with its socket over there. Okay, so to remove one of these, it ain't just going to free off easily. Vice grips, best tool in the world. Shout out to Vice Grip Garage. Derek. Probably the best YouTube channel in the world. I don't want to twist on the sensor, I want to twist on the mount that the ABS sensor sits in. We want to give that a little wiggle as we pull. So I'm trying to rotate gently as I pull it, which, as you can tell, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially with a camera between the legs. Oh, easy peasy, they say, easy peasy. I'm going to have to try and get in on there. Okay, fast forward to me drilling this out, probably. I think we're going to take it over to the bench. Safety squints. Right, and again, they could have put the cable that way or that way, made it easy to try and remove, but no, they didn't. They chose to do it this way. Thank you very much. Different pair of vice grips, because they make vice grips for all occasions. I really don't want to snap it off, but that does happen. It can happen, unfortunately. So I can see the top moving, but the fingers are not. So I'm just going to keep wiggling till I start to see movement on that finger. Can you see it? That is very fortunate. Now, don't feel bad if you don't manage to do that. I say I probably do about 3 out of 4 move, and then the 4th rips up. So now we want to get a lever and start trying to bring it up. It's getting there. You see that? It's coming. It's coming. Hopefully it's not going to cheat on us and snap at the last minute. There we go. Whoever thought to put plastic inside a cast housing without anything in between? Yeah, well, there we go. So, that's out the way now. That was easy, wasn't it? Unbelievable. So what we're going to do is, before we go over to the press, we'll wire wheel inside of that, give that a good spray, because actually getting this clip out in here, which is terribly designed, can be the hardest bit. Over pressing it and all the rest of what we've done just now. At it, try and clean out that ABS hole for the benefit of future me. Now we're going to lay it flat, so like that, and I know it'll spin, but as you can see, so you got the hub and the bearing, and those two all spin independently because I love the bearing. Okay. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to the press and you're going to push that out, and then that'll probably go with the bearing. So we might smack that out initially with a hammer. You don't need to go to the press for that. That saves a bit of time, a bit of faffing. It's quite hard to put on the press as it is. You have to get the arms just right on something. You potentially bend the ears. We don't want to be doing that. So we're going to see how much movement there is in these, just using a screwdriver. And the answer to that is almost none. So that's perfect. She doesn't want to play ball. She really doesn't want to play ball. Which is quite irritating, to say the least. Oh, she went. You see that? She finally went, and she went there as well. Right. And then this is like taking a tube off a car wheel or a bicycle wheel. You have to work it round without pinging it in your face. Eye protection is not a bad idea at this point, and being away from very nice shiny cars, they have a tendency just to do what they want, really. Okay, that was easy. Wall or 32 thin wall. Either of those will do. Let's go for a thick wall. I'm going to put this on a piece of wood here, smack that hub out. Again, half the job done. Schmack. Schmack again. There he goes. Okay. Let's bring it back up so you can see what's going on. Alright. So we've got the bearing that's kind of fallen apart a little bit. This outer race here is what does the ABS ring. There are our bearings inside. Doesn't look hideous, but bearings don't always tell the full story. And then we've got the clip that holds the two outer races on, the inner and outer races together, sorry. That's like the seal from the inner side. And you'll notice we have this inner race that we've got to get off. Well, outer, I think that's actually an outer race really. But there's the bearing. And then we'll use this just to, once we've got it off, to push through and push out this way. Okay, so here is, let's do it that way, so hopefully you can see better. There's a couple of ways of attacking this. You can get proper pullers, but the puller still needs to get in this groove here, which is, as you can see, almost non-existent. So what we have to do is cut a small slot in it, hit it with a chisel to open up the bearing, and that will slide off this outer hub. Now do not cut into this hub. If you leave a groove in it, it'll just damage the new bearing and weaken this hub. So you can't cut it that way, that would be perfect. You have to cut it at a nice long angle. On chisel. Let's see if we can open that up now. That's a good sign. Yeah, there we go. See how it budged? And then chisel behind, and she'll slide straight off. Did I touch it? Oh, I just touched it. That's a shame. There, oh, like the lightest touch just there. Obviously aiming not touch it. Okay, you're going to need this though. So we're going to need this to then push that bearing. You push on that bearing, push it out, and push this in all together with the new bearing. Right, so now we need to go to the press. We'll go to Mickey Kellett's. Here's a 50-ton press, and I never managed to push these out with my 10-ton. Fortunately, the 10-ton always seems to it needs like 12-ton or something. That is filthy. That has had an inner race spin on it, I would have said. We'll clean that up. Okay everyone, so I'm afraid the time-lapse didn't work of me putting it back together, but honestly it's just the reversal of you taking it apart. So just put those components in one by bit, get the hub attached to the strut with the two bolts loosely, just nip them, make a little bit of movement, get the drive shaft into the hub, then get the hub onto the ball joint on the lower arm, then get it attached to the trap rod arm, then get your brakes on, and then torque everything up. Torque specs. Trap rod arm here, this little bolt, we'll start with the low one, is 50 Newton meters. Get that? Did you get that? 50 Newton meters. The ball joint, the bottom here, 70 Newton meters. Okay. The two large bolts holding the hub to here are 92 Newton meters. The bolts holding the brake caliper on are 160 Newton meters. That's right, 160 Newton meters. And then this big bolt in the middle here is 345 Newton meters. Your torque wrench might not go that high, so just do it up really, really tight until you pin with your little locking cap thing goes on together. This is like 20 newton meters, by the way, the little bolt there. Make sure you clip in your ABS sensor. That's 8 newton meters, by the way, bolting that in, and that's clipped in well up there, and your brake hoses are all clipped in their original locations as well. And you're golden, and you've just replaced your wheel bearing, either with the help of a garage pressing it or your own press. You should feel accomplished. Go and have a cup of tea and a biscuit. This is Piggy Pear. Thanks for watching. I hope it's been helpful. Pop down a question if you've got one. I'll try and respond within a day or two.